Have you ever had that moment when you wake up in the morning, pick up your phone like usual and suddenly freeze, realizing there are no messages from the person who once claimed you were their everything? No good morning text, no check-in, not even a single sign that you still exist in their world, just complete silence, crashing down like an invisible slap, leaving you stunned and breathless. In moments like that, you don't just feel abandoned, you feel like you've been erased, coldly and cruelly, like you never even mattered. There was no goodbye, no explanation. They just disappeared as if you never existed. And the most painful part? You have no idea why. You start going back through your memory, analyzing every tiny detail from the last conversation, wondering if you did something wrong, if you asked for too much, or if, maybe, you just weren't enough. But here's the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. The only thing you did was love someone who never had the capacity to love you back in a healthy way. When a narcissist ends things, they don't do it like an emotionally mature adult. There's no conversation, no truth-telling, no emotional closure. They choose to disappear quietly, strategically, as if your presence never had meaning. And that choice doesn't reflect your worth, it reveals their inability to tolerate real intimacy. This isn't just a breakup, it's a form of emotional abuse, because silence without explanation leaves you confused, trapped, and doubting yourself. But you need to know this. It's not abandonment, it's release. A narcissist doesn't leave because you weren't valuable. They leave when they can no longer extract anything from you, and the moment they're done is the moment you finally get to begin. This video will help you recognize that moment, the moment they were truly finished with you, but more than that, it will give you clarity on why it happened, the true nature of the relationship, and why their exit might actually be the disguised gift that launches your healing. This isn't just a breakdown, it's a breakthrough, not just a psychological analysis, but a wake-up call, a turning point where you reclaim your power and take back your life. Side 1. They become completely indifferent. When a narcissist has truly let you go, the first thing you feel isn't some dramatic action. It's an eerie kind of emptiness. A silence that's more than just the absence of sound. It's the absence of emotion, of connection, of everything that once made you believe they were truly attached to you. They're no longer angry, no longer jealous, no longer trying to control you. And that alone might trick you into thinking maybe they've finally matured. But the truth is far from that. They haven't matured. They've withdrawn from you as if you never existed. For most people, ending a relationship, no matter how painful or conflicted, is still accompanied by some level of real emotion, sadness, regret, reflection, but not with a narcissist. They don't end things in a healthy way. They just flip a switch. Not because they've grown past you, but because you no longer serve a purpose in their world. Their indifference is not peace, it's disengagement. It's the result of you no longer meeting their hidden needs, admiration, submission, and control. And that's what makes this kind of ending so suffocatingly painful. You were once the center of their world, or at least you were led to believe that. They once called you their soulmate, the only person who ever understood them, and now they can look at you without a flicker of emotion. You're hurting and they don't care. You're lost and they won't respond. You beg for a conversation and they won't even look back. This is what leads so many victims into a deep spiral of self-doubt. Because if they ever loved you, how can they be this indifferent? And if they didn't love you, was any of it ever real? That question digs deep into your psyche, but the answer lies in one harsh truth. A narcissist doesn't build relationships based on emotional connection. They build them based on function. You were valuable to them because you gave them a sense of importance, admiration, control. And when you stopped providing that, or when someone else started doing it better, they ended things without warning, without hesitation. This kind of emotional indifference isn't just the end of a relationship, it's a psychological deletion. They no longer see you as a human being with depth, with value, with feelings that matter. They see you like a once useful object that's now worn out. And they discard you with the same level of emotion as throwing away a broken item. No anger, no regret, no responsibility. Even when you reach out and ask why, they might look at you with cold, blank eyes and give a dry, emotionless response, or no response at all. That leaves you in a dangerous emotional limbo. Not only have you lost a relationship, you've lost the sense that you ever mattered to someone, and that's a direct blow to your self-worth and identity. But what you must understand is this: it's not your fault. They aren't cold because you weren't good enough. They're cold because they never learned how to love anyone in a real, honest way. And this indifference, while deeply painful, is the clearest sign that you finally escaped the toxic emotional web they built around you. They're no longer playing games, because they no longer need you on the board. The control loop has ended, and if you're strong enough to see it for what it is, this could be the very beginning of the most powerful healing you've ever known. Sick 2. They start publicly triangulating and comparing you to the new person. When a narcissist is truly done with you, they don't just quietly walk away into the background. They don't move on in a mature or respectful way. On the contrary, they make sure you see the replacement, and not just see it, but hurt because of it. They flaunt the new person, post pictures, say sweet things to someone else that they once said to you, not because they're genuinely happy, but because they need you to know you've been replaced. This is a calculated power play, and you are the one being used as emotional collateral. In the narcissist's mind, love isn't a bond between two people. Love, to them, is a tool, a way to shape and validate their identity through the admiration of others. You were once the mirror reflecting back their ideal image of themselves, but when that reflection starts to fade, when you no longer meet their expectations, no longer submit, no longer respond the way they want, they go searching for a new mirror. And they don't just quietly install it in their lives, they put it on display, right in front of you. They start comparing you, directly or indirectly. The new one doesn't drain me like you did. He actually listens. He's not complicated like you were. These statements aren't shared out of honesty. They're aimed like darts at your self-esteem. They want you to feel less than, to feel like you were never enough. They want you to believe that everything that went wrong in your relationship was your fault, and that the new person is somehow proof that you were the problem. What makes it even crueler is that all the things they once denied you, kindness, romance, affection, basic respect, they now eagerly give to someone else. The romantic dates you begged for, the compliments you longed to hear, the timely hugs you desperately needed, they hand those out effortlessly to their next target. And that can leave you feeling completely crushed, like you were never attractive or lovable enough. But the truth is, the new person hasn't met their dark side yet. They're still in the love-bombing phase, and eventually they'll be treated just as you were. Triangulation is a classic narcissistic tactic, divide and conquer. By placing you in competition with the new person, or even with exes from the past, they create a never-ending cycle of jealousy, confusion, and emotional volatility. It keeps you psychologically tethered even though the relationship has ended. It makes you want to prove your worth, to win them back, to somehow outshine the next person. But in reality, you can't win a game that was rigged against you from the start, because for narcissists, no one is ever enough. They don't want love. They want devotion, submission, and supply for their empty ego. When they parade the new person with no regard for your feelings, when they deliberately put you in a position to be compared and devalued, when they say things meant to wound without hesitation, that's your clearest sign. They've detached from you emotionally, completely. You're no longer important to them. They've moved their focus onto their next source of supply. And you've become a shadow from the past, used now only to make their current situation look brighter than it actually is. But don't let that define you. Because here's the truth. You were never truly replaced. You were released. When they use someone else to try and hurt you, it speaks volumes about the emptiness inside them, not about your worth. And the more clearly you can see through this performance, the more power you take back. You don't have to play in a toxic game where you were never meant to win. You were always more than a mirror. And now, it's time to shine for yourself. Sig 3. They blame you entirely and rewrite the entire story. When a narcissist decides to leave you, they don't just walk away quietly. There's no apology, no accountability, no honorable closure. Instead, they rewrite the entire story of the relationship. And in that new narrative, you are the villain, the manipulator, the one who wasn't good enough to hold on to them. Rewriting the story isn't just about saving face. It's their way of maintaining control even after they're gone. This isn't simply lying, it's a distortion of reality. They'll take real events, twist them to their advantage, and inject just enough truth into the lies to make it all seem believable. If you cried from pain, they'll call you overly sensitive or emotionally unstable. If you got angry over mistreatment, they'll paint you as toxic and controlling. But they don't share the story to reflect. They share it to shape how others see you, and, more dangerously, to make you question your own version of events. This tactic is known as DAVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. They deny your experience, attack your character, and position themselves as the wounded one. And it's not just a form of defense, it's a powerful tool of manipulation because it makes you feel guilty for being hurt. Many survivors fall into a full-blown identity crisis at this point. You're not only dealing with heartbreak, you're also facing a warped reflection of who you are. When the narcissist talks about you to others, friends, new partners, even your own family, they spin a tale where they're the victim. And unless you have a strong voice and sense of self, you start wondering, what if they're right? What if I really was the problem? This is a form of post-breakup gaslighting. You're no longer being controlled by their presence, but by the twisted memory of yourself they leave behind. They plant seeds of doubt about your memory, your emotions, your worth. And the scariest part? They do it with calmness, composure, even sincerity, because they believe their own story. Narcissists don't distinguish between truth and fiction when it comes to emotion. They only recognize what protects or threatens their fragile ego. And if you threaten that ego with truth, with boundaries, with honesty, you become the one who must be revised. A clear sign they're done with you is when they no longer hesitate to paint you as the bad guy. They no longer care about preserving even a sliver of your dignity. They won't soften the story, they'll distort, vilify, and even invent things that never happened just to justify their behavior. In that moment, you're not a person to them. You're a threat to the narrative they need others and themselves to believe. And so you must be eliminated. Symbolically, socially, emotionally. But here's what you need to remember. Truth doesn't stop being truth just because someone refuses to acknowledge it. What you lived through was real. Your emotions were valid. And if you find yourself trying to defend your story against a false script designed to break you, you don't have to fight with explanations or proof. You simply need to stand firm in your truth and let time expose theirs. Their smear campaign isn't proof that you were terrible, it's proof they never had the courage to face their own darkness. When they turn you into a twisted tale, that's when you stop listening to their words and start rewriting your story. One built on truth, dignity, and peace, the very things they'll never know how to sustain. Sign 4. For they ghost you completely. One of the most cruel and deeply wounding tactics a narcissist uses when they're truly done with you is ghosting, vanishing without a trace, no explanation, no goodbye. This isn't just about not replying or falling out of touch like people often say. Ghosting in the hands of a narcissist becomes a calculated weapon. It's deliberate, strategic, and designed for one ultimate purpose: to erase your sense of existence. Unlike people who break up because of incompatibility or mutual disconnection, a narcissist doesn't feel the need to give you closure. In their mind, you're not important enough to deserve a proper ending. When they ghost you, they don't just walk out of your life, they make you wonder whether you ever existed in theirs. Calling it abandonment doesn't even begin to describe it. It's more like psychological annihilation, where you're given no feedback, no context, no resolution to locate your place in the story. Ghosting leaves your mind in a state of suspended torment, like a browser tab running endlessly in the background. You don't know what happened, you don't know what you did wrong, you don't know where they are, what they're doing, whether they still care. And that ambiguity turns into obsession. You check your phone 20 times a day, hoping for a text, a sign, anything, but all you get is silence. A thick, suffocating silence that makes you start doubting yourself. Am I overreacting? Was I really the problem? What's terrifying is, the narcissist knows you'll react this way. They know ghosting will send you into a prolonged state of anxiety and emotional paralysis, and they use that to maintain power long after they've physically disappeared. You're still bound to them, not by their presence, but by the void they've left behind. While you're agonizing over the lack of closure, they're off living their life, flirting with someone new, spinning a fresh narrative where they are the victim of a toxic relationship, with you as the villain. When a narcissist ghosts you and never comes back, not with an explanation, not with an apology, not even with a reaction, that's your clear signal they no longer see you as emotionally useful. They didn't retreat out of sorrow or uncertainty. They disappeared because you've outlived your function in their life. You were once the source of admiration, praise, pursuit. But when you stop giving that, or worse, start seeing through their mask, they discard you without remorse, and ghosting is their most efficient way to exit without accountability. The psychological impact on the victim is severe. It's not just the loss of the relationship, it's the blow to your very sense of self. You're left feeling like you weren't even worth a goodbye. You feel humiliated on a deep level, as if your love had no value, as if you never really existed in their heart. But here's what you must remember. Ghosting is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their cowardice and emotional emptiness. A mature, emotionally healthy person ends things with dignity, even when love fades. They know that respect must remain even if the relationship doesn't. But narcissists lack that kind of respect because they never truly saw you as a whole, complex human being. And their ghosting isn't because they're hurting. It's because disappearing is the easiest, most energy-efficient way to end an emotional transaction that no longer benefits them. Being ghosted by a narcissist may feel like the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but in truth it's a doorway to freedom, because if someone can vanish without a word, they were never capable of loving you in the way you deserve. And once you understand that, you stop waiting for answers. You become the answer. Signal 5. They smear your reputation and attack your personal identity. After a breakup, an emotionally mature person will still try to preserve some dignity for both sides. Even if it hurts, even if they're disappointed, they understand that tearing down an ex doesn't make them any better. But for the narcissist, the story doesn't end when they walk away. In fact, it often just begins a quiet war aimed at destroying your image in the eyes of others, and if possible, even in your own. They don't do this because you hurt them. They do it because you no longer serve their ego. Once you're no longer idealized, you become devalued. This shift from pedestal to pit is inevitable in relationships with narcissists. It's part of their cycle. First, they lift you up as their perfect person, then they crush you when you fail to uphold that illusion. You may have once confided in them about your family, your insecurities, your past mistakes. In a healthy relationship, those things would be held with care and confidentiality. But in the hands of a narcissist, they become ammunition. They'll take what you once trusted them with and twist it, exaggerate it, strip it of context, and repurpose it to build a new, distorted version of you. One that's unstable, dangerous, too much. They'll tell others you were emotionally unstable, controlling, crazy jealous, ungrateful. They might tell their new partner, your mutual friends, even your own family. This isn't a breakup, it's a targeted smear campaign, and they often deliver it with a tone of helplessness, like they're just telling their truth, like they're the one who's wounded and just looking for empathy. And if you react, they'll use that reaction as evidence that you're unstable. If you stay silent, They'll treat your silence as guilt. No matter what you do, they will twist it to fit the narrative where they're the poor, misunderstood victim. The cruelest part is, people often believe them, especially the new partner. Narcissists are highly skilled storytellers. They can sound calm, rational, even humble, while carefully dismantling your credibility without ever having to raise their voice. The result? You start to feel worthless. Not just because the relationship ended, but because you're being quietly humiliated. You might lose friends. Your name might be tarnished in your community. You might hear lies about yourself from people you once trusted. But even more damaging than that, you start doubting yourself. When everyone seems to believe their version, you wonder, maybe I really was the problem. And that's exactly what they want, to make you small, ashamed and silent, too afraid to speak up, too lost in confusion to fight for your truth. Why do they do it? Because narcissists can't tolerate rejection. In their minds, you're someone who must be punished for seeing through them, for no longer pleasing them, for daring to walk away. Tearing down your image is how they repair their fractured ego, by casting you as the villain in the story they need others to hear. When a narcissist reaches the point where they're willing to destroy your reputation, where they betray your most trusted secrets without hesitation, that's when you know they're done. Not just emotionally, but morally. They no longer feel any emotional connection or ethical responsibility to you. They don't care about preserving your dignity, because to them, you're not a person anymore. You're a threat to be eliminated. But here's what you must remember. Their words are not truth. Their version is just a tool to manipulate others and protect their image. You don't need to fight in their arena. Truth doesn't need to scream to survive. It just needs you to stand firm. In your worth, in your dignity, in your self-respect. They may stain your image in the eyes of others, but they can't take away the truth in your heart, not unless you give it up. 6. Use of the new person as an upgraded version of you. Not long after you and the narcissist part ways, you start to notice something deeply strange and deeply painful. Their new partner looks like you, acts like you, says things you used to say, and even adopts interests that were once uniquely yours. From the way they dress, to their hairstyle, to the little habits and catchphrases, you see yourself reflected in this new person. But here's the twist. They're being loved, validated, and celebrated, while you, the original, were discarded without a second thought. The harsh truth? The narcissist is now using this new person as an upgraded version of you, minus the flaw of having a real heart. This is a manipulative strategy and, unfortunately, a common one in narcissistic behavior. Because they lack a stable identity of their own, narcissists often absorb traits from those around them, especially from people they once admired, idealized, or sought to possess. During your relationship, they studied you carefully. They remembered what you liked, what made you unique. And when you began to wake up, when you set boundaries, asked for respect, or stopped serving their needs, they didn't grow. They didn't self-reflect. They copied you and projected that image onto someone else. Recycling your traits into the new partner gives them a double advantage. First, it helps them maintain the idealized fantasy they once had with you. Second, they can use the new person to make you feel like you lost, like they found a better version of you. And that's how they continue to control your emotions even after the relationship ends. You watch in pain as someone else is given the love, attention, and kindness you begged for, delivered now through the parts of you they once ignored. What's even more disturbing is that the new person has no idea they're being programmed based on you. They truly believe the narcissist loves them for who they are. They don't realize they're playing a role scripted by bits and pieces of your identity. They don't know they're simply the next actor in a familiar performance. And you, the one who was real, now find yourself compared to a copy, hollow, unaware, and seemingly better, at least for now. This can send you into a deep spiral of self-doubt. Why do they love that person so easily? Why are they giving them what I asked for? Was I the problem all along? These questions can haunt you for months or even years, unless you realize this. The narcissist never loved anyone. They only chase reflections they can control. In truth, you weren't replaced, you were replicated, distorted, soulless, and misused. The new person isn't better than you. They're just a copy, living inside a fantasy, still unaware of the dark side you once faced. And once they stop performing well in the role, the narcissist will move on again, searching for the next upgrade, and the cycle will repeat, fueled by their broken identity. When a narcissist uses someone new as a substitute version of you, it's a clear sign they're done. No love, no care, no respect left. You're no longer a person. They see you as a blueprint to reuse. And if you keep watching, comparing, and analyzing, you'll keep yourself trapped in a manipulation loop long after they've emotionally exited your life. But remember this, you are the original, and no copy can ever replace the depth, soul, and realness of who you are. If someone can imitate you but couldn't keep you, that says everything about them, not you. The truth is, the narcissist didn't find someone better than you. They simply found someone who hasn't seen them as clearly as you once did. And that's why they were never worthy of you. Not even from the very beginning. Scene 7. They no longer react when you set boundaries or walk away. There's a strange yet unmistakable sign that a narcissist is truly done with you. They stop reacting altogether, no matter what you do to disconnect, protect yourself, or even walk away. The very behaviors that once triggered intense emotional responses, from begging, threatening, and manipulating to love bombing, are now met with nothing. No texts, no calls, no surprise appearances. Their silence is no longer a tactic of control, it's the end. In the past, every time you tried to set boundaries, they would push back, hard. They'd get angry, withdraw affection, threaten to leave, or use fake tenderness to pull you back in. That's because you were still inside their zone of emotional power, and any attempt to reclaim space was seen as a threat. But once they no longer see you as a source of emotional supply, your self-protection becomes irrelevant to them. Their indifference now is proof that you're no longer in their psychological orbit. You might wait for a reaction, a negative response, a last-ditch apology. But all you get is a cold, echoing silence, and that leaves a hollow emptiness inside, because if they once loved you, once needed you, how could they be this indifferent when you say, "I'm not coming back"? The answer lies in the very nature of narcissism. They never truly connected with you emotionally. They only connected with the role you played in their life, and once that role no longer serves them, there's nothing left to engage with. Don't mistake their silence as maturity or graceful detachment. It's not. In the narcissist's world, silence at this point means you've stopped being useful. Their attention has shifted to someone else, a new story where they are again the star and someone new is buying into the performance. You no longer spark emotion in them because you've seen the truth, and the truth is what narcissists fear the most. This final silence may be the deepest cut because it makes you question whether you ever mattered at all. It closes the book on any lingering fantasy. No more hope. No more "maybe they'll come back." No more games. And in that utter silence you finally hear the one voice that remains, your own. Remember, their indifference is not proof that you're unworthy. It's proof they were never capable of real emotional connection in the first place. The fact that they don't react when you walk away or draw the line doesn't mean you weren't lovable. It only means you no longer fit into the life of someone who seeks control, not connection. That's when you stop waiting for a reaction. That's when you stop trying to be seen, because the truth is, you see yourself now. You've stepped off the stage of manipulation. You've escaped the cycle of hope and despair, and in the moment they no longer respond, you are given the ultimate power. The power to no longer need them. If you've made it to the end of this video, there's one thing I want you to hear first. You are incredibly brave. Not because you've moved on easily, but because you had the courage to look the truth in the eye, even when it broke your heart. You dared to face the brutal signs, the behaviors most people will never understand unless they've lived through a relationship with a narcissist. And you chose awareness over denial. That is the first and most powerful step in healing. Right now you may feel exhausted, confused, empty. You may feel betrayed not just by that person, but by the trust, the love, and the hope you once poured into that relationship. But let me be clear, you were not wrong for loving, you just gave your love to the wrong person. Narcissists don't leave like ordinary people do. They disappear, manipulate, blame, replace, distort the truth, and ultimately make you question your own worth. But none of that defines who you are. It only reveals who they are and what they lack. You are not weak because you are hurt. You are someone with a heart, and that heart, though it's been abused, is still the strongest thing you have. It still beats. It still longs for real connection, not one rooted in power, but in respect and empathy. Remember this, the fact that they didn't come back isn't your loss, it's your protection. The fact that they didn't respond when you walked away isn't a rejection, it's your opportunity to never go back. And the pain you feel isn't proof that you're weak, it's proof that you're human. From this day forward, let the truth set you free. Don't live in the words they once told you. Live in the person you're becoming. They let go of you, but now you are the one choosing to let go of them. You no longer have to wait for closure. You don't need another apology. You don't need empty promises of change. You are the ending, and you are the new beginning. So if you're hearing these words in the quiet of night, through tears, or in the stillness after rage, know this: you are not alone. There's a whole community of people who are healing, and you are part of it. I believe in you. I believe you won't just survive, you'll rise again. And if this video spoke to a part of your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments, because every voice, every story told becomes a piece of the collective healing we're building together. Keep walking, not to escape the past, but to move toward yourself. You are worthy of real love, and that love begins within you.